The special meeting of the Annapolis City Council on Monday, March 19th, 2018 will be called to order at 7:02 p.m. At this time, would everyone willing and able please stand for an invocation or a moment of silence from a... Dear Heavenly Father, I want to first give thanks for the many blessings you have bestowed upon us. I ask for continued blessings for our city, its people, and this legislative body. Dear God, please guide the leaders of this community. Help us to exercise the good judgment and make wise and impartial decisions which will benefit all residents. Help us to be filled with a spirit of cooperation and compromise, so the results will be successful and will be a successful and prosperous city. These and other blessings I ask in your name. Amen. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam City Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mayor Buckley?
Here.
Alderwoman Tierney? Here. Alderman Payan?
Here.
Alderwoman Pendell Charles?
Here.
Alderwoman Finlayson?
Present.
Alderman Rodriguez?
Present.
Alderwoman Henson? Alderman Savage?
Present.
Alderman Arnett?
Present.
Mr. City Attorney, please read the first item on the agenda.
The first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
At this moment, I would like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
All those in favour say aye.
Yep. Second. Oh.
Didn't you want a motion for reconsideration?
Yes.
Yes, I'd like to add to the agenda a motion to reconsider resolution. Unless I talked to Regina about it, we could do it in the the fee review, the budget.
Because we don't have any of the connected information because we didn't know that you
Yeah,
wanted to do.
it's,
Don't have any to do it. So we can.
Alderwoman Finlayson.
Mr. Mayor, do we need to suspend the rules to address R 1218 on, it's already done? Okay, thank you.
Do we do that in approving the agenda, or do we do it when we get there?
Are you talking about suspending the rules? Yeah, it's already in your agenda over top of the legislation.
So we just do it when it comes
When
up?
we get
Yes.
to it, right?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. So do we take a vote?
All in favor of the agenda, approving the agenda.
All those in favour of approving the agenda, say aye.
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 All those against?
No.
The ayes have it. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
The next item on the agenda is petitions, reports, and communications, beginning with reports by committees.
Is there any older person who would like to present a report? All right, good. I like that. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
The next item on the agenda is comments by the general public.
During the comments by the general public, they may speak on any item not scheduled for public hearing tonight. Legislation scheduled for public hearing, O-8-18, adequate public facilities, adequate school facility standards, O-13-18, city emblems, prohibited use. We have two speakers. First speaker to come up, Mission Montague. Thank you.
Mic is on.
Mashawn Montague, on behalf of the Annapolis Drum and Bugle Corps, looking for assistance for a practice spot for our children to practice on Mondays and Wednesdays. A place where we can have our children both inside and outside, weather permitting, and a kitchen so that we can serve them a meal, because we have them between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. at night. They're falling off. They're falling off like crazy, and I'm watching them in the streets. I'm watching them on Facebook having babies. I'm watching them, this one is shot and that one is shot. But I've gone around from neighborhood to neighborhood to neighborhood to neighborhood to collect these children, to get them off of the street, to help them to be able to be productive citizens, to help them to be able to have something to do after school when there's nothing else to do. I need to have some place to bring them, and I need to have some place different to bring them besides where they already are, because right now I'm needing some other entities. I'm needing some other ethnicities to come in and help so that we can show them that the world is bigger than just their backyard, and nobody wants to come into their neighborhood to pour into them who are not already pouring into them in the other programs. There are plenty of programs for the girls in the neighborhoods, but I need help.
Alderwoman Pindell-Charles?
Yeah, Ms. Montague, thank you for coming before us. About 6 months ago, when Miss Debbie came, Miss Pat, I mean, and I emailed her several times because we were looking for some places, and I mentioned to her, I said, if you need any help, because we had talked about the Salvation Army possibly, to come back and let me know, and I hadn't heard anything, and honestly, I assumed that it had been taken care of.
No,
I did not know
I went to
that.
the Salvation Army myself even before that meeting, and they told me that that was not, we could not use their facilities because of their floors.
Okay, I didn't hear any more, so I'm sorry, I just didn't know there was still an issue. I assumed it was taken care of.
Okay.
We're gonna have to talk about that.
Okay, can I leave my information? I am the new director of the Annapolis Drum and Bugle Corps, and so I will be handling all of those things moving forward. A younger spirit, a different face, a different voice, and I can't be stagnated. I need help, but I'm gonna make it happen one way or another. I don't know if we have to come out to Gross Avenue and practice in my backyard. My neighbors might call y'all every day, but whatever I have to do, I'm gonna make sure that we have a way. So I'm looking for, like I said, some place where we could practice both on the sunny days and the rainy days, so that there would be continuity, but please help.
Okay, I know when I came over to see Miss Tippett that day, you all were practicing over at Eastport Terrace Harbor House, but
Yes.
I like I said, I assumed everything was fine. Okay, well, we're gonna talk about and find a place.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Alderwoman Finlayson?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Montague. I thought we had started a dialogue with either Pitt Moyer or the Stanton Center. Did nothing work? Obviously didn't work out, but did you ever have an opportunity?
I went to, the places that I've chose, I've called all the local schools to see if we could practice in, in their parking lots and on the rainy days in their gymnasiums. No. I did not call the Stanton Center. I've called the Pitt Moyer. I've been there. When I tell you I've beat the streets, I've seriously beat the streets trying to find a place for us to practice. And like I said, not everybody feels safe coming to that location. And I don't blame anybody for anything, but I just know that if we have another place, then we'll be able to we have people who want to volunteer, but they don't want to come to that neighborhood.
Well, the Pitt Moyer Center and Stanton Center belong to us.
Okay.
So we do have a slight advantage. So, Mr. Mayor, could we ask Mr. Trader to look in
Yeah,
to the availability
If you leave your number
of
right
our
there, I'll
facility?
get Archie to call you tomorrow.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. you so very much.
Alderman Odette, hold on.
And Sheila and Rhonda.
Ms. Montague, sorry.
I'd be very happy to work with you. This is such a good thing, and we can't let it die on the vine. So let's get together and see what we can do to make it happen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Montague. The next speaker, Catherine Nash White.
I'm new to speaking at the city council meeting, so I think I'm speaking on 0818, so I think I put my name down to speak at the wrong time. Right? The public hearing for the school cap,
So,
speak now or
yeah.
speak later? Later?
It comes
That's what I
back around
thought.
in a second. Is there anyone else present who would like to speak? Seeing no motion in the chamber, I declare comments by general public closed. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
The next item on the agenda is an update from the mayor.
So thank you all for being here. Thank you all who came early. We had an amazing event thanks to Janice Hayes Williams. She knows how to throw a party. So first of all, I've got to send a big thank you to Tom Andrews. And he has been amazing in this transition. I couldn't have done it without his help, and we are very sad to lose him, but we're very happy for him to be moving on to a great job with the state. And we wish him all the best. He's promised he'd be there for us as a resource. So I'd just like to give him a round of applause if we could, please. I tried to get him to go out for a drink, but he wouldn't do it with me. So. And then also, if you look behind you at the plaque on the wall, we need to thank Janice Hayes Williams for the plaque of African American older persons, people who came before us and who are with us now, who worked twice as hard to get to where they are as everyone else. So I just am inspired by all the people on that wall. I'm also proposing a new city manager. Her name will be put forward. It's Teresa Sutherland. She's going to bring with her over 20 years of experience in auditing in the county, and she's going to bring some real depth to the team, so we will be voting on her and discussing her soon. This weekend I did a fantastic event at St. John's College with Andrea Mitchell and Judy Woodruff, two amazing journalists and fearless advocates for social issues. I made a joke of calling them thanking them for being part of the liberal media, and they didn't laugh. So, as a guy who campaigned as a liberal, sorry. Also attended a great meeting at the Eastport Yacht Club. We had a round table, questions about what my views were on the sailing community and the boating community in this city and how important it is. And we as a city need to put our money where our mouth is. If we're going to keep calling ourselves the sailing capital, we have to back it up, or we have to take the plaque down. So we're going to be working hard these 4 years to make sure that we truly are the sailing capital and that we trounce Newport. Another amazing thing that you must all go to, and if all the city councillors could hold up their VIP passes to the film festival. We have an amazing cultural event coming up this week. It's the Annapolis Film Festival. What is so fantastic about it is the programming. It is programmed at Asbury, at St. Anne's, at St. John's, at Maryland Hall, and it's been programmed at the Academy. It gets people to walk all over this amazing city. There is great diversity in the programming. We have movie stars coming here. We have directors coming here. This is a great cultural event for the city, and I want us all to go out and enjoy that. Thank you so much. So many of you were here earlier on for the unveiling of the new plaque at City Hall that honours the outstanding contribution of former and current African American members of the Annapolis City Council. For those of you who are not here for the unveiling and were watching on television online, I would just like to remind you that everyone that is important to honour these pioneers, especially the first blacks ever elected to office in the state of Maryland and the City Council, the first black alderman, William Butler. So, as I said earlier, the fact that in the state of Maryland, the first ever black elected official housed from our city, that should never be lost on any of us that serve in this chamber. Just 3 years after African Americans just 3 short years after African Americans regained their vote to vote in 1870, William Butler was elected the first black alderperson in 1873. Each name on the plaque behind you has been very important to the shaping of our city. These alderperson will carry Mr. Butler's legacy forward in the future. I thank you, Janice Howes-Williams, for your help with this project, and we look forward to the next unveiling of a memorial to the women who have served on the Annapolis City Council, which we will be unveiling in 2019. I'd also like to say Shanika Henson was the last African American person voted on the council. She's not here today. She's not feeling very well. So I want us all to say a little prayer for her, please. In other news, since next Monday is Maryland Day, I would like to encourage everyone to find a way to celebrate Maryland Day in some way and remind us why the state of Maryland, and especially the city of Annapolis, is the best state and city and country to live in and work and play. I'd also like to wish those who celebrate Easter and Passover a good holiday. We'll reconvene our regular scheduled meeting after. Finally, I would like to recognise Tom Andrews again for his years of service as City Manager. I would like to personally thank Tom for staying on board for these first few months for my administration to help us hit the ground running. We wish Tom the best of luck as he continues his public service with the State of Maryland Department of Health. Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
The next item on the agenda is the approval of the consent calendar. I believe that's correct.
I think we've done that. Yeah.
No, move approval of the consent calendar.
First readers, 01418, Development Review Process Amendments, referred to Planning Commission and the Rules and City Government Committee. 01518, Lease of City Property, Truxton Park Wet Slip, referred to Finance Committee, Economic Matters Committee, and the Environmental Matters Committee. That is the end of the consent calendar items.
Are there any objections to the items on the consent calendar?
Move approval.
All those in favour?
Second.
Well, that should be seconded, doesn't it?
Have to second?
Second.
Sheila seconded.
Okay.
Roll call.
Mayor Buckley?
This is for first reader, right?
Yeah, it is a roll call for the consent calendar. Alderman Savage,
Aye.
Alderman Arnett,
Aye.
Alderwoman Tierney,
Aye.
Alderman Payon,
Aye.
Alderwoman Pendle Charles,
Aye.
Alderwoman Finlayson,
Aye.
Alderman Rodriguez.
Aye.
Did you forget something?
I said aye first.
She said aye, he said aye.
Hearing no objection, I would like to entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
We just,
Have we done that? Oh. Second, we got the second? Okay.
We just did.
We called the roll, sorry. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
The next item on the agenda is a continuation of the public hearing on Ordinance 0-8-18, Adequate Public Facilities, Adequate School Facilities Standards, for the purpose of amending the test for additional school capacity by requiring schools with enrollment greater than 95% of the state-rated capacity to be listed as closed on the annual school utilization chart, and matters generally relating to adequate school facilities.
Okay, the first speaker signed up to speak is Laura Booth. Please state your name and address for the record.
Oops, oh, sorry. Do you need me to do that again? As a result of the county's redistricting, we have alleviated a lot of our overcrowding problems in our elementary and our middle schools. If you guys remember, we had 14 trailers outside of Tyler Heights, 6 trailers behind Hillsmere. We had children going to schools in buildings that didn't have enough bathrooms to accommodate them, kids taking their lunch back to their classrooms on trays because they didn't have room in the cafeteria. So there's a lot of good news to be had in Annapolis in the world of education. But there's also bad news. Unfortunately, there was no way to alleviate the overcrowding issues at the high school. Annapolis High School is at capacity. If you've never visited Annapolis High during the day, I would urge you to do so. It's kind of something to see when you have 2,000 kids in the hallways shifting from class to class. Hang out in the lunchroom and watch 2,000 kids try to come in and get their lunches during the day and out in the 25 minutes that they're allotted. If you visit that building, you'll see there really isn't a spare corner or a hallway that isn't currently being used. The current ordinance only freezes development once Annapolis High hits 120% of its capacity. That means that you think that there's space in that building for 450 more students. I challenge all of you to wander through that building and figure out where to put 450 more kids. They're doing a fabulous job at Annapolis High School. My son's a freshman there. We love the school, but there isn't room for 450 new students. The only way you're going to do that is by taking the reasonable class sizes from 25 to 30, or maybe even 35. That's not a way that our students are going to learn well. In Anne Arundel County, that's not acceptable. In other parts of the county, when a school is at capacity, development is capped so that the students have a fair chance to learn. But here in Annapolis, we're second-class citizens. We don't have the same protections that students elsewhere in the county have. We've created this unequal system in which our students here in Annapolis schools are subject to overcrowding that students don't have to tolerate elsewhere in the county. So what I'm asking you is to stop creating problems that we expect the county to magically solve. It's time to stop creating problems and be part of the solution. You have an opportunity here tonight to take a lead on that, to say we hold education here in the city of Annapolis just as important as the rest of Anne Arundel County. So I'm urging you that to do what you promised to do when you took office. You said earlier, to do your best for the taxpayers who live here. Not the shiny new taxpayers that might come with new development, but the ones who are already here, the ones who elected you, who put our trust in you to do what's best for our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Catherine Nash White.
Hello, thank you. I'd like to echo the sentiment of the previous. I'm Catherine Nash White.
Your address, please.
87 Wind Whisperer Lane, 21403. I would like to echo the sentiment of the previous speaker, except I have a son who's about a year and a half old. So in doing the math and looking at the capacity of the schools and then the expected capacity at 120%, I'm on the beginning stages of looking at schools, and I see neighbors moving out of our neighborhood because they either have to face overcrowded schools or they have to pay for a private school. And we need to make sure that the citizens that live in Annapolis and live in their neighborhoods, parents aren't having to make the choice of working extra hours to send their kids to private school or moving to another area. We should be able to live where we are and keep a certain standard of living, and also know that our city is going to provide schools where there's ample space and appropriate class sizes. I went to school that was overcrowded, and in high school we had to fight for attention from teachers. We had some classes that were required where there were up to 40 kids in a class, and it's just not conducive to learning. And to say that we would add 400 students to Annapolis High School as it stands now is just unacceptable. To also then speak to the development side of Annapolis, that's what makes Annapolis so great, is that I used to say it's that sleepy southern town on the water, being from North Carolina. And if we continue to allow development at the sake of our residents and our schools, it's not going to be that little sleepy town on the water anymore. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else present who would like to speak? Please state your name and address.
My name is Kara McCandless, 3 Carriage Run Court, Annapolis, 21403. I'm here this evening first because I would like to personally thank Alderman Arnett, Savage, and Rodriguez for proposing Ordinance 0818 and encourage the rest of the City Council to support this legislation. I am a mother of 2 7th grade students at Annapolis Middle School and a 9th grade student at Annapolis High School. And I really believe that this ordinance will ensure that they have a safer and more positive learning environment than they would if things progress the way they're going. I'm very concerned about Annapolis High School, that it's on track for severe and even dangerous overcrowding in the coming years. According to Anne Arundel County Public Schools, they're at 98% capacity, even though they have 7 to 8 trailers out back. But there's already signs of overcrowding. In addition to the trailers, the hallways are very crowded. It's very difficult to move from class to class. The cafeteria, the last time I was there, I noticed that it's rated for just over 500, fire code. There are 610 students in the freshman class this year. We have about 430 seniors leaving, and our next year's freshman class is likely to be bigger than this year's, and the one after that bigger. We are, feeling the effects of a baby boom from years ago, and this problem is not going away. I worry that as the cafeteria and the halls and the classrooms become more crowded, they're going to become more chaotic. That's what happened at Hillsmere when my children were in elementary school, and we dealt with overcrowding there, which has, as Laura mentioned, been alleviated. But it has not been alleviated at the high school. And I want to see, an atmosphere that encourages academic success for all of our students. Anne Arundel County Public Schools projects that by the time my 7th graders are seniors, the school will be at 112% capacity. That's 250 plus more students than the school is designed to accommodate. That's in 5 years. And in my experience, the projections are low because what they've projected for this year is lower than what we actually have at the high school. It is a wonderful school, but it does face more challenges than some of the other high schools in Anne Arundel County. And we all know about them because we hear about them in the news, we talk about them with our neighbors and who have kids there. But yet those other schools in the county have greater protection for their schools. They're not going to get to 120%. So we need to give our Annapolis students the same protection against overcrowding as the other high schools in the county enjoy. And I firmly believe that good schools are the foundation of thriving communities. You've probably heard a lot of reasons why we shouldn't do this, but I really believe that by investing in our schools, by protecting our schools, we're going to make all of Annapolis safer and stronger.
Thank you so much. Anybody else like to speak?
Good evening. I'm Alice Kane. I am a parent of 2 students at Annapolis Middle School. I am also a member of the Annapolis Education Commission. Oh, and I need to give you my address. 426 Ferry Point Road. I just really want to make 2 points tonight in support of this ordinance, and strong support. One is the difference I've seen as a parent as class sizes have gone up dramatically at Annapolis Middle School. There was an infusion of new students thanks to redistricting, and my oldest son had 38 students in his algebra class this year. And on back to school night, I walked up to the teacher and I said, I am so sorry that, I'm an educator and I know that 38 students, especially for a gateway subject like algebra, is a problem. I said, I'm so sorry. I said, what can I do to help as a parent until the rest of the algebra teachers arrive? And she looked at me and she said, no, this is it. This is what we've got for the rest of the year. And that all of her classes were about that size. So I've heard the impact that has had on my students' ability to learn and on other students in that class. And it's a real problem. We have to make it worse, or better, not worse. The second thing I wanted to share, and I know I've spoken to you about this before, and I think I brought pictures last time, but is the situation at Tyler Heights and the number of portables. And there are safety issues with the situation right now. There are health issues, and I would really encourage you, if you haven't been there and if you haven't talked to the principal about it, and if you haven't taken a tour, to just go see what the situation is there for those students as their renovation keeps getting pushed to the bottom of the list. And I've lived in Annapolis 8 years. They were, high on the list when I got here, and they keep getting bumped and bumped and bumped, and this is an untenable situation. And again, we need to make it better, not worse. So, as I've heard our mayor say, education is our future. It's the solution to all our problems. And I just really urge you to take into account the next generation as you make this decision. Thank you very much. Yes?
Alderman Arnett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, thank you for your testimony. At the last hearing last week, we heard a lot of appealing things from people who wanted to do integrated housing, workforce housing, but income integrated. So, I guess I'm curious what your feelings would be about a potential carve-out for that other goal, which is to try to have housing where teachers can actually live in the city. Yeah, well,
strong support.
Yeah, right.
I think teachers would support that too.
So there might be some trade-offs. We're already being asked to consider going to 100% instead of 95, but the carve-out would mean that it could put more pressure. So when we get to the committee meetings on this, we're going to be asking people to tell us what the tolerance is, what kind of trade-offs you find acceptable. My sister also teaches or taught, and she is able to live in Annapolis, but barely. And I think it is desirable to have the teachers where they see the kids at the grocery store as well as in the classroom. But we'll be looking for input to see where you think the tolerances are to make trade-offs.
Yep, I'm happy to look at that and give you a more complete response once I've seen the details.
Great. Thank you.
So, thank you.
Alderwoman Pendle-Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Kane, where is exactly Tyler Heights on the list now?
Oh, well, it's gotten bumped back again. It's worked its way up and been bumped several times.
Because
So,
the last I heard, it was pretty high on the list.
yeah. And, maybe this time will be the charm.
Thank
We
you.
hope, yes.
Alderwoman Finlayson.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Kane. Did you speak at the Board of Ed meeting about class reduction efforts You know, we don't have anything to do with class size. That's a purview of Anne Arundel County Public Schools.
Spoken to Board of Ed, I've spoken at County Council, and I've spoken before the legislature. I think each of you have pieces of the answer, but absolutely fixing, getting more dollars into the system is part of it.
You know, I spent some time this afternoon at Tyler Heights with the superintendent and his staff talking about the pending renovation of that school. And we are pretty high on the list, actually. The plans are 95% complete, but now it's in the hands of the state as to whether they're going to fund their share of it, and then we'll be able to fund our share. So there is definitely lobbying necessary to encourage the state to fund. You know, we had, there's always repercussions of elections. And while Tyler Heights was at the top of the list several years ago with the new election and a new high school going online, we did get bumped down. That's not anything the city had a role in doing.
Oh, right, yes, I did not mean to imply
that.
that.
Much to our chagrin, that's what happened. And we did fight to get it back to, I think it's number 2 or number 3 on the list right now. But programs are also part of the issue that unfortunately we have no say in. You know, Annapolis High School is over capacity or very close to capacity because they have the PVA program, the gifted, the arts program there, and they pull students from all over the southern part of the county. They count within our numbers even though they're not our students. The school is also a magnet school for ESOL students. Again, they pull from students all over Anne Arundel County. So until we're able to extrapolate out how many of those are actually our students and figure out how funding is going to be met for the city, it's going to be very difficult for us to cap without the taxpayers bearing the burden, a greater burden. And so when we talk about class size and overcrowding, we also have to look at the economic indication of that. So we have to weigh what that means for taxpayers. You know, cost goes up, services, needs for services increase, and we have a limited budget, so how do we make it fit? So we like to hear ideas on how we can make this puzzle all fit together. Schools is one piece of that puzzle. So,
Alderman Arnett.
thank you.
So, Alderwoman Finlayson, you raise a very interesting point, and I'd like to ask both of you about that. How flexible is it in terms of where these programs are assigned? I understand that Annapolis is a catchment from the southern part of the county, but is this something that we have some flexibility about where it goes, where high schools may not have as much student pressure? And is that something that can be flipped around from year to year, or is it something where you have teachers that are also teaching other things that are involved in these programs, so you can't really be that flexible in how you do these things?
Well, I've been removed from the system a few years, but when I was last there, teachers taught whatever was needed of them to teach. But the gifted and talented program, for example, is in 2 different parts of the county. So young people who attend schools in the southernmost part go to Annapolis, the rest, I believe, go to Glen Burnie, or I'm not sure what the northern school is. So they are divided. I'm not sure about the ESOL program. I think Annapolis might be the only center for that program. And there's another program there that eludes me at the moment. But that's something that the school board surely, if not, can struggle with or should be dealing with how to make it fit at this point.
But these are things, and you're the chair of the Education Commission, these are the kinds of
Not
things
chair, but
that we're going to have to come to grips with to see how we shape this legislation. And since you're apprised of this, Alice, we'll let you know.
Great.
Because we'd like to hear from you as well.
Thank you. And the county council is considering a school board budget that would increase the number of teachers, which I think that's part of the solution, but it's not at all clear where that's going to land. And there's a lot of backfilling that needs to be done. So it's a lot sort of happening at once as the puzzle gets put together. So thank you all, and again.
Thank you, Alice. Alderman Pittendale
Yeah,
Charles?
just to add one thing, I know Broadneck High School has the PVA program as well, so that's pretty close to ours, but I know there are students coming even from the Brooklyn Park area all the way down to Broadneck to avail themselves of that program. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming out on speaking on this subject. We're listening. We only have one high school in this city, and so that's the struggle we have to work out, as opposed to the county, who have a lot of facilities. So I don't think it's an apples to apples thing, and that's what we have to deal with. Thank you so much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Please state your name and address.
Hi, good evening. Please bear with me because this is my first time doing this and I'm kind of nervous. But my name is Lauren Gibbs and I live at 3284 Arundel on the Bay Road here in Annapolis. I work for the local organization known as Concerned Citizens for Proper Land Use, and our organization's leader, Mr. Gerald Weingrad, who's my boss, could not be here tonight, and so he asked me to read a letter on his behalf, and I also have copies for all of you. So,
can you show me how many pages it is? No. Gerald will appreciate that joke. Yeah.
Dear Mayor Buckley and City Council members, while I am not able to be at tonight's public hearing in person, I am sending this letter with my comments on Ordinance 0818, Adequate Public Facilities, which would tighten city requirements to assure adequate capacity for children who attend our public schools. Our organization, Concerned Citizens for Proper Land Use, supports this important legislation with two critical amendments. Before the general election last year, Mayor Buckley and council members Tierney, Paone, Rodriguez, Savage, and Arnett all signed our candidate questionnaire and committed to adopt provisions on school overcrowding that would parallel the county laws as it existed at that time. The exact language you endorse is as follows, quote, if elected, would you support and work to enact an ordinance that would parallel the county adequate public facilities ordinance and mandate that when any public schools, elementary, middle, or high schools are at 100% of state-rated capacity, no new non-age restricted residential developments of 4 or more units may be approved for 6 years or until the school overcrowding is remedied, unquote. All 6 of you answered yes to this question and committed to the voters and other citizens of this area that, if elected, you would support a new law so that when any public schools are at 100% of state-rated capacity, no new non-age restricted residential developments of 4 or more units may be approved for 6 years or until the school overcrowding is remedied. We are asking that you consider making 2 amendments to 0818 as it is currently proposed to bring it in line with this commitment. The first amendment is regarding the capacity threshold, which you have proposed to set at 95%. The county law at the time you signed the pledge was at 100%, as it has been for decades. The county council recently passed a temporary measure to reduce the threshold to 95%, but it will sunset after 3 years or when the county passes its general development plan. A threshold of 95% versus 100% is irrelevant for city feeder schools, so I would suggest keeping it simple and setting the city threshold at 100% as you committed to originally. The ordinance you have proposed, 0818, is also weaker than the county law as it only applies to developments of 11 or more units. I also suggest amending the ordinance to apply to developments of 4 or more units, thus emulating the county law and keeping your pledge. I sincerely hope the 6 of you will honor your campaign commitment to our organization, our supporters, and the citizens of this area and amend and pass 0818 as you committed to do so. We also ask that the other 3 aldermen who did not complete the questionnaire consider supporting these amendments. The county runs our public schools, so why should the city follow different laws for their capacity? Several Annapolis schools are closed to new developments in the county, but are forced to consider accepting students from city developments because the laws aren't the same. This isn't right. We ask that you take a look at the photos below of the fenced-in trailer classrooms at Hillsmere Elementary and ask yourself, is this what we want for our children? For the 6 of you who signed our questionnaire, we humbly ask that you uphold your pledges made not that long ago, which were seen by thousands of our followers concerned with the impacts of growth on our city. For the other 3 alderpersons who did not sign our questionnaire, please consider supporting a better education for our children by ensuring they can learn in a proper classroom environment, not a trailer separated from their schools. Respectfully, Gerald W. Weingrad. Has really good illustrations as well. So should I just hand this to you?
Thank you.
Thank you.
You did great.
Thanks.
So there's a lot to discuss here. I declare the public hearing on O-8-18 open until Monday, April 9th, 2018.
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Savage.
Thanks. I just wanted to say again, thank you to all the parents and the children who came out at today's meeting. I know you have a busy schedule, so it's really important, and we're really grateful that you came out here to speak your mind and let us know your views. And as the mayor said, the hearing's open until April 9th. And also after that date, the legislation is going to be referred to our committees where we really work out a lot of the details. And those meetings are open to the public. So thank you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
The next item on the agenda is a public hearing on Ordinance 013-18, City Emblems, Prohibited Uses, for the purpose of regulating the use of the city seal, the city flag, and the city logo.
Is there anyone present who would like to speak? I declare the public hearing on O-13-18 closed. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
The next item on the agenda is legislative actions on first reader, beginning with Resolution R-11-18, amended 2018 City of Annapolis Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan, for the purpose of adopting, as amended, the 2018 City of Annapolis Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan as required by the Federal Emergency Management Agency to maintain eligibility for disaster funding for large-scale emergencies and disasters, as well as mitigation grant funding.
I second.
All those in favour say aye.
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 All right. Do you want to present?
I think we're good to go.
We're good?
Good to go. You know we love you.
Thank you, council.
That
That was a lot of hard work.
I have a question.
We need to
Oh.
I'd like to move that we suspend the rules.
Okay. So Alderman Pindell Charles.
I have a question. I'm looking at the supporters of my council persons, and I'm reading 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 names. Are we missing one person because it has to be unanimous? Is that correct?
Well, they're sponsors.
Okay, all right.
They're
Okay, I didn't know
sponsors.
if we had to also be sponsors.
And I think Alderman Savage would have been a sponsor, but we didn't get to him till later.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure. I didn't know we all had to be sponsors or we all had to unanimously vote. Okay, thank you for clarification.
Thank you for pointing that out, Alderman Mason.
Nudge, nudge.
And does anyone second Ross's motion to suspend the rules?
Second.
Alderman Savage. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. Ayes have it. All right.
Now we need to do it on second read.
Okay.
So I move R-11-18.
Is there a motion to adopt R-11-18 on second reader?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All right. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
All those
To
opposed?
do roll call.
Okay.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Mayor Buckley?
Here? Yes?
That's a good answer. Alderman Savage,
Aye.
Alderman Arnett,
Yes, here.
Alderman Terry. Aye. Alderman Payon,
Aye.
Alderman Pendle Charles,
Little eye.
Alderman Finlayson, Alderman Rodriguez.
Aye.
Well, it's only been 100 days. Can we be hard to... The motion passes. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for all the hard work on that.
Thank you, council.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sometimes the less you say, the better off you are. Let that be a lesson.
We're jealous you get to go.
Mr. Mayor, the next item on the agenda is Resolution R-12-18, City Council and Standing Committee Meetings, Electronic Participation, for the purpose of authorizing Alderwoman Finlayson to participate in City Council and Standing Committee meetings via electronic communications equipment for a limited period of time.
Move R-12-18.
Is there a second?
Second.
Move we suspend the rules.
Oh, vote on the resolution.
We
first.
just,
All
can we
in
just vote on it
favor?
all?
All in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Against, no. Ayes have it.
Okay.
Move we suspend the rules.
All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
You need a second first?
Second.
Do you need discussion?
Second.
All right.
The-
All
the-
those in favour?
Well, wait a minute, Fred, I think wants,
Oh.
just, the reason we're moving to suspend the rules is because there won't be another council meeting before the surgery occurs. So we need to do that tonight, in order to make this possible. The IT people have a sort of a jury-rigged, way that we can make this happen so that Sheila can participate, and we get to see her in her recovery room, wherever it is. And, but we can talk back and forth. This is not dissimilar to what the county did for Steve Smith for a while when he was away on duty.
And very different from what the city council did for me when I had a joint replacement, i.e. nothing.
Well, that's because we like Sheila.
Good Lord. All right, Ross. Feel the love. You good.
Is there a motion to adopt this on second reader?
So move.
All those in favour? Oh, second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Those against? Ayes have it.
That's a roll call.
Okay. Roll call.
Mayor Buckley,
Aye.
Alderman Savage,
Aye.
Alderman Arnett,
Aye.
Alderwoman Tierney. Aye. Alderman Payon.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Pendle Charles. Alderman Finlayson. Alderman Rodriguez.
Aye.
Motion passes. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
The next item on the agenda on second reader is Ordinance 0318, Abandoned Vehicles, for the purpose of permitting an authorized agent of the City of Annapolis to exercise limited enforcement authority in the impoundment of abandoned vehicles, establishing a fine for leaving wrecked or non-operating vehicles on public property, and matters generally relating to the abandonment of vehicles.
So move.
Is there a motion? Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Have a minute.
Well, there's amendments.
Okay. So the proposed amendments,
Mr. Mayor, at the last council meeting, I think we got through the first set of amendments, which were from,
No, we did it, but you have to move them
we
again.
have to go again?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so is somebody from the Public Safety Committee going to move the Public Safety Committees en masse?
Rhonda, Public Safety Amendment.
Yes.
Alderman Pendle Charles.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. We're gonna start with,
No, just move them
You
all.
can just move them.
Okay.
We've been through it.
okay, fine. Make a motion that we accept all the amendments under 03-18, abandoned vehicles.
Second?
All those in favour?
Aye.
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 Against? Ayes have it.
And we have the Tierney.
And then we have the Tierney one?
Alderwoman
And
Tierney.
Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Subsequent to the last meeting, there was a little confusion on the hearing requirement. We tried to match another piece of legislation and found that it was not applicable, so we simplified it. We will have to go back, thank you, Rich, for doing that. And we will have to go back with
Thank you.
separate legislation and address hearing requirements. But this just basically says that any owner who desires to contest goes before the chief of police. And that about sums it up. So
So
I
just-
make a motion?
Is there a second? All those in favour?
Well, discussion.
Oh, discussion.
I just want to point out that in the code, there was, in Title 12, there was the call for people who receive tickets to appeal to the Board of Appeals, but that is not allowed under the authorization. The Board of Appeals is appealed under the Land Use Code. So this resolves a problem we didn't know we had, but
For
now
this
very nicely resolves
Yeah.
that problem. So I'll be supporting these amendments.
We'll make corrections as we go to the code. So I motion that we accept this amendment.
We already have a second.
The second? Does
I
someone
second it.
Okay, all those in favour of the Tierney amendments, say
Aye.
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 All those against? Ayes have it. All right, let's, Alderman Rodriguez.
Yeah, I'd like to propose 03, my amendment to 0318, which is just to insert 45 days on page 2, line 40 after effect. This is essentially making the legislation effective after 45 days of the signing, and this is typically done for public notice and outreach. So when there's an ordinance that involves penalties and fines, I think it's just the responsible thing to do a outreach and educational campaign about the new impact of fines and penalties for abandoned vehicles. And Mr. Gordon has already done this, and we've discussed this previously, but he will be doing an aggressive outreach campaign to notify the residents of Annapolis in both English and Spanish. So that's for the purpose of the amendment.
We have a second for the...
I move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
You guys have it?
Thank you.
No,
No? Okay.
I'm good.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon, appreciate it.
Was
Thank
that-
you so much.
Was that
We're not finished.
a motion or was that the vote?
I don't know, we didn't even have any discussion.
Yeah.
It's already been voted on, so
Okay.
too late now.
All right. I would have voted with you, Fred, but the got past us.
So now we need to vote on the
Okay.
motion as amended. on
Right,
second
so is there a motion to adopt O-318 as amended on second reader?
Can I motion?
Yep.
To
So
accept?
Is there a second?
Second?
All those in favour, say aye.
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 Those against? Ayes have it. Is there a motion to adopt O-318 on third reader?
So moved.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mayor Buckley?
Aye.
Alderman Savage?
Aye.
Alderman Arnett?
Aye.
Alderwoman Tierney?
Aye.
Alderman Payon?
Aye.
Alderman Pendle Charles?
Aye.
Alderman Finlayson?
Aye.
Alderman Rodriguez?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Is it? Is that it?
Mhm.
That's it. We did it, Rick. Yes. My first piece of legislation. Woo-hoo!
I want to commend the information technology staff of the city for allowing us to have this wonderful hologram of Alderwoman Finlayson. Is this her in person or is this a hologram? as it relates to R-1218?
It's Memorex.
I thought we were finally gonna have a meeting or two where we didn't have to listen to her, but silly me.
Oh.
You wish.
It's wonderful to have you here in person, Alderwoman Finlayson.
After all these years, you're finally here.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda on second reader is ordinance 01218, boards, commissions, committees, and authorities, attendance at meetings, for the purpose of permitting members of certain boards, commissions, committees, and authorities to attend meetings via telephone conference, limiting the attendance of members via telephone conference to non-quasi-judicial government units, permitting attendance by a member via telephone conference to count toward the meeting quorum, and matters generally relating to permitting certain meeting attendance via telephone conference.
Is there a motion to adopt O-12-18 on second reader?
Move. So moved.
Is there a second? No second?
Dies for lack of a second. No second. It's defeated.
Discussion?
If you don't get a second, you
Don't
can't.
get a second without discussion? No.
It's dead.
All right.
We'll explain why over at McGarvey's.
Okay, so we're going down here, right?
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
The agenda item has been completed, Mr. Mayor.
Anything else for good order?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to congratulate my son-in-law and my daughter on the birth of a grandson, my second grandchild. 3.5 weeks early. Everybody's healthy. Very happy event in my family.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. All right, Granddad.
Notice I phrased it so I didn't have to see if anybody would vote for it because they liked me. I put it in terms of my son-in-law and my daughter. So,
It's a beautiful name.
It's up to you.
Porter Payon Garfield.
Wonderful.
And having said that, Mr. Mayor, I would move that we adjourn on a happy note.
Woo-hoo. It's a record. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I think we should have meetings every week.
Well, we had a 2-hour lunch.
And Ross Arnett said in honor of my grandson that he would be buying tonight.